everyone, I'm Sarai from Strange the Dreamer, and I'm going to talk about some of my favorite witchy reads today. So for people who are new here, and this is your first of my videos, I'm Jade of Jaded Reader, and I'm not usually blue. So I'm gonna go over some of my favorite witchy, witchcraft, and kind of pagan lore books. I've been wanting to share this for a long time, and this just felt like the perfect moment to do it. So let's get right into it. My first book I wanted to share with you guys is one I've mentioned on my channel quite a few times, especially over the summer, and that is Summer at Castle Auburn by Sharon Shin. This book follows a girl named Cora as she kind of struggles through her childhood all the way through her young adulthood. At first she is living with her grandmother and they practice herb lore and a little bit of alchemy. She's also the half-sibling to a duke. After her father dies, it is in his will that she be transferred full-time to the castle, and she has a bit of a hard time adjusting to her new, more royal life. But the potions and alchemy and herb lore definitely play a major role in this book, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on, because witchcraft isn't always fantastical spells, but in times like these, spells and potions are used a bit more practically, and in this case, I really love how Cora uses her abilities to help others. So I recommend Summer at Castle Auburn by Sharon Shin. That is my first one. After that is a series I don't believe I've actually mentioned on this channel before, but is by one of my favorite witchy authors, and that is Kate Tiernan. We have the Balefire series. This is a quartet following Teus and Cleo. They don't know each other to begin with, but become very close throughout the books. Cleo has been raised in New Orleans, practicing witchcraft her entire life, while Teus is new to New Orleans. After tragically losing her father, she is sent to live in New Orleans, and the two meet and are able to find out something really significantly important about their powers. I love the relationships in these. I think they're really fun to read. They're a bit more whimsical with their magic, but definitely pull from more natural magic, and so I highly recommend this series. Following suit is another Kate Tiernan series. This one I don't want you to be overwhelmed by because they're actually all very short. I say that as I lived 14 books, but this is the Sweep series by Kate Tiernan. This series is absolutely fantastic. If you are into character development and magic, this is a wonderful, I believe it's a YA series. It does go a bit into Morgan's adult life, but Morgan finds out that I don't want to give too much away. Morgan finds out something about herself she did not previously know, and she starts discovering more about herself and Wicca and witchcraft, and ends up starting her own circle of friends and magic. There are two really good romances in this, and I don't want to give anything about them away, but it really kept me reading, and I actually read through all of these with my mom, and it was such a wonderful experience. I felt connected with the magic, with the family dynamics, and just the characters in general, and we got to kind of buddy read them. So I highly recommend the Sweep series. There is new covers of these. I don't know if these editions still exist anymore, but there are new covers of these which seem a little bit more manageable. They, I think, cram 3 or 4 books in one, so if 14 books together doesn't look appealing to you, I would check those out. I'll leave a picture to them right there so that you can look at them yourself. Another one of my favorites, and nobody will be surprised to know unless it's your first time here, and at that point I'm just impressed that you kept watching me considering I'm blue. Speaking of blue, it's the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater. I talk about this series quite often on my channel. I actually got her custom-made hardcover book box for it that Maggie Stiefvater created herself. So I absolutely love these books, and while witchcraft is not a main part of these books, it does follow Blue, who helps channel psychics' abilities, and she lives in a household filled with psychics who definitely use their powers. It has that whole witchy vibe to it. You're talking about ley lines, about old Welsh kings. There is an urban magic in this, as well as a whimsical, like, other magic that I really enjoyed, and I think you will too. I will say I highly recommend them all the time. Unless you've started them and didn't like them, then we have nothing to say to each other on the subject. Going back to a more earthy magic though, I wanted to definitely talk about Juniper, Wise Child, and Coleman. Juniper is actually the prequel book. Wise Child is the original, and Coleman came out later as a sequel to Wise Child. I think that these might be one of my favorite books just all around. I can't imagine not having these books with me or near me. I'm currently rereading Wise Child, and it makes me feel so good. I've explained Wise Child on my channel before, but I'll go ahead and say that Wise Child is a little girl who finds herself to be orphaned in a village. She was living with her grandmother. Her mother is estranged, and her father is away traveling. And when nobody takes her in, Juniper ends up volunteering and taking Wise Child in. It's a beautiful story. It goes into a more traditional magic. It's definitely closest to my practicing with magic, so if you're ever curious about that, because I don't really talk about it on my channel, this is as close as it gets. Some of these lessons to me are just so important, and it talks about how unimportant biology can be. So if you are a person who values close family and friends that aren't blood related to you, I think you'll really enjoy this story. I do recommend Coleman. However, before reading Coleman, I think you should read Juniper, the prequel. It should definitely be read in that order. I don't recommend just reading Coleman after Wise Child because you're missing a lot of key pieces, as this goes into a lot of Juniper's background as well. And there's just some interesting dynamics there that I don't think should be missed. So if you do decide to delve into this series, I highly suggest starting with Juniper, moving into Wise Child, and then reading Coleman. After that, I have The Forest House and Mist of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. I don't have a lot to say about the author herself. I read a lot of things that I found really disturbing about her later. She has passed away, and these books have been passed down to me through family, so I don't feel uncomfortable owning these books. But I do caution you, if you are someone who doesn't like to support authors with any problematic backgrounds, then I definitely look into Marion Zimmer Bradley before reading these books. On the other hand, these books are absolutely amazingly written, and the story in it is something that has impacted a huge part of my life. I'm very much so into Arthurian legend, and these books gave me a deeper meaning with Arthurian legend that ended up impacting how I saw the legends and the lore, and I just treasure them quite deeply. The Forest House is actually the prequel to The Mist of Avalon. While The Mist of Avalon follow Arthur's story from Morgan Le Fay's perspective, The Forest House goes in before Arthur and all of the background characters leading up. This has a lot of major themes dealing with paganism and old druidism and more of Avalon as it became Avalon, and then it leads into The Mist of Avalon, which is truly beautiful. If you've ever been interested in Arthurian legend or cared about Arthurian legend to begin with, I highly recommend this series, again keeping those other thoughts in mind. Getting closer to our conclusion, we have a recent read for me. That is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I'll have my vlog linked above, and I really did enjoy this book. I didn't enjoy it as much as my other books that I had on this list, but it did have a lot of really good impact for me, and I loved the feeling of listening to a story by the hearth, and that is definitely what this book felt like to me. It felt like it was an ageless classic that just recently came out, and I did feel excited while reading it. And it's currently the readathon read for the Witchathon that I'm a part of. I won't be partaking in reading it again since I just read it, but there's about to be tons of reviews up, and I highly recommend you check some of those channels out. Anything that has the hashtag Witchathon, I'm sure should give you some light on this book, or you can listen to my reviews in the past. It's really up to you. This last one is a book I admit I have not finished yet, but I am currently reading for the Witchathon, and that is Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. This seemed like such an intriguing story. I just explained it in my last video, so please go take a look at my Witchathon TBR for a full synopsis. I'm definitely enjoying the story so far, and I'm predicting a 4 to 5 star rating on this book. I'm really hoping I continue on liking it as much as I do. So I wanted to throw this on the list in hopes that it's as good as I think it is. I will let you know in my Witchathon wrap-up. That is currently it for my favorite reads. I hope that next year I can do this again and my pile will be that much bigger. So I hope you're enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are. And until next time, bye! This follows the story of a village who lives... I'm usually like a chalky, pasty white color. I'm talking up a storm. Kind of fizzled out there at the end. I was doing so well.